Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast, the impact it has, the people it reaches. I get messages on a weekly basis on people finding this podcast when it needs it most. And my objective when I started was to really simplify spirituality, guiding people on their spiritual journey, holding people's space while they go through their shifts, and really connect with the deeper version of yourself. And I love the fact this podcast is doing that. So if you're a regular listener, thank you. Well, thank you for your support. If this is your first time, welcome. Give us some feedback. Let us know how it feels. Any topic suggestions, please let us know. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, and a spiritual coach and mentor. What I get to do is I get to guide people, holding their space and really truly getting them to understand who they are at a deeper level, releasing the programming and shining the light. And I do that through Akashic Records, through spiritual mentorship. You can work with me, or you can work with me and Stacey together, whatever resonates. And I really do feel like we're being pushed to be our authentic selves, to become the version of ourselves that we're here to be. We've gone through so much. We've gone through so many rebirths. The energy of November feels so heavy. By the time I post this, we would have gone through a super moon, which feels really intense. So in full disclosure, we're recording this on Tuesday. Full moon, the energy of the full moon is between Tuesday and Wednesday, depending where you're at. So yeah, it's a healing, expansive time. And I'm sure a lot of that is going to come through this episode. But this podcast wouldn't be where it is today without the beautiful, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire and published author, Stacey Brown. Stace, love for you to introduce yourself. You know I've got to keep doing that, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's part of our show now, right?
Exactly.
It's so good to be here. I'm grateful for another episode and the opportunity that we have to use our voices together to help other people, because that is the goal ultimately, is to help people in whatever way we can. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from around the world. I am also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. I have a book called Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender. It's available on Amazon and Audible. It tells the story of my journey, of my spiritual awakening, and some profound experiences that I had with my son through a trauma. It's a story that took a lot to get out of me and put out into the world, but I know that it's meant to help people, and so I hope you'll check it out. I'm looking forward to getting into this episode today, Nims. How are you doing?
Honestly, I feel good, but I feel like I'm in that state where, which is why I'm closing my eyes. It's almost like I'm not in my physical body, which isn't a bad place. It just means that maybe I'm channeling at a deeper level. I'm feeling the energy of the planet, and yeah, I'm just here. I keep showing up, and I'm excited about this episode too. I always say about this podcast that we never pick the topics in advance. It's always kind of an energetic. How do we feel? Part of the challenge is always to make the topics different because there is a consistency in what we talk about, but want to make sure it's different too. So, but this topic feels so appropriate for right now, and so today we're talking about when the spiritual path feels heavy. It's I feel like I've been talking about the current energy being intense for years now, right? Maybe at least for a year or two, and it's almost like I'm expecting it not to be as intense. But I recognize this the place we are on a planet is where the planet is going through such a shift. It's a lot of spiritual speakers talk about it. Where we're shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine. We're going through an ascension, we're going through rebirth, whatever spiritual word you want to pick. But it really feels heavy. And I know I've got a lot of questions recently because I talk about the next 12 or 18 months being really heavy, really intense. And I guess people want to know more information about what that feel like. And I don't feel like we're meant to know too far ahead. But I do feel like this phase we're in right now is meant to be heavy, is meant to be expansive. It is meant to be a period of heavy karmic release. And can it feel overwhelming? Yes. Is this a time for us to trust and let go? Yes, it is. Is that easier said than done? Maybe. But it's just an interesting time, and it's just I'll always say things like, I'm sending love and light, wishing you ease and grace, and sometimes I guess the feeling that when we talk about spiritual growth is, it's meant to be light, love, and ease. I don't know who said that. I don't actually feel that the spiritual path needs to be complicated. Maybe it's simple, but I don't think it's easy. Because the thing is, we're a soul having a human experience, but we're also a soul that's chose to have this human experience during a really shifting, expansive time for this planet. And reality is when we're shifting, when we're going through our own personal shift, and then you add to that the ancestral and the personal karma that we're releasing, and then you add to that the shift the planet's going through, then it's gonna feel heavy, right? We're gonna experience things at a deep level. We're gonna experience some deep expansion, and do we know why? Maybe we don't. I guess, do we need to accept it? I feel like we do. Is it part of our soul expansion, our karmic release? Probably. But let me ask, you, the listener, do you feel right now that the spiritual path is heavy for you? How does that make you feel? Are you scared? Are you excited? In this moment, I do feel tired. I feel heavy. But there is a part of me that's excited. I'm curious what this next phase is going to bring. I know it feels like for so many people, because with all the conversation I had this week, it's like, I feel a change coming. I feel a shift coming. I want to know what it is. I want to know what it is. It's almost like we're in a holding pattern. And it has felt like that. But the only thing we can focus on is this moment. So, Stacey, let me ask you. I know the answer to this question for you right now, but does the spiritual path feel heavy to you? And how does that heaviness serve you?
I feel like this is such a loaded question right now. But yeah, the path feels heavy to me right now. And I know that it does for a lot of us. I've had a lot of conversations with friends and with clients who are also feeling the heaviness of right now. And I think there's the immediate that we have this full moon energy happening here, and that's kind of the immediate. But I also think that we're going through a season of heaviness. And for me, that heaviness comes with making tough decisions. And it's not always easy to be in that space when you're already feeling challenged and things feel heavy, and then you're faced with making decisions that maybe you feel like you're not ready to make. I didn't expect this season to feel heavy. I think that's the other part of it, is that when you go through a season of heaviness, you might not see it coming. And all of a sudden it's upon you. And what you thought was going to be a completely different season takes a turn. And I feel like that's where I am right now, Nims, is in this heavy season and trying my hardest to continue to do the things that I know make me feel good. Meaning still tapping into my spiritual practices and connecting. I think when we go through a season of heaviness, we want to disconnect from everything and hide a lot of times. And I don't know that that's always for the best. I think that it can be temporary relief. But I think in seasons of heaviness, we need to turn to those that love and care for us for support. And so I'm just feeling the weight.
Take your time.
I've faced so many challenges in my life, as I'm sure a lot of our listeners have. And I just thought for sure that this season was going to be light. I spent the last 2.5, almost 3 years in a relationship with somebody in a different part of the world. And somehow we navigated it and made it work with this vision of what our future was going to be. And mutually, we have decided to end that committed relationship. And I feel this heaviness that comes with that decision, that I don't really know what this season is going to look like now. And my goals and dreams are going to shift and morph and change. And in this season, what I'm trying to work through is that heaviness. It feels deeply spiritual. This was my partner and one of my very best friends. And I am now facing a season that looks totally different than what I had anticipated. And there's a weight that comes with that, a heaviness that comes with that in the not knowing and the grief. And, I debated so much what I was going to share today and whether I was even prepared to open up about this. But one of the things that recently came across my path was a beautiful conversation with a client and a friend of mine. And she was simply saying that the authenticity is what touches her because she knows that I'm living my life in real time and that I'm sharing even the hard parts with people. And my friends, it's not easy to do, but the heaviness feels a little bit lighter when you share it with someone else. And you can say, this is where I am, and allow your people to hold space for you. And so I'm coming to you today with this heavy heart, going through this challenging season, but also knowing that I'm not the only one who's experiencing a heavy season right now. And if you are experiencing a heavy season, this is your sign to let you know that you're not alone in this, that there is absolutely something happening right now in the universe that is causing these heavy situations. And I believe it's happening in huge part to prepare us as light workers to shine our light even brighter and to become the best version of ourselves. So I'm scared right now. There's a lot of unknown, but I also have this longing desire to be excited because I know that I'm being true to myself. And I know from that space, good things will come. I just have to be patient in the process of getting there. So I feel like I just gave you the most long-winded answer, Nims, but that's where I am. It's a heavy season for me.
Yeah, when we spoke about it before, I wasn't sure how much you were going to share. I was never going to I was never going to push you to share. It's your information to share. But as always, thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing from the heart. I know you always say it's only one way you can be, but it's I feel like it is your superpower to be vulnerable. Yeah, I guess sorry, not sorry for what you're going through, right? I mean, we're not here to stop the human experience. Do I wish it wasn't as painful for you? Yeah, of course. Do I love your openness in terms of wanting to be excited? Yeah, 100%. You know, a lot of it does come down to our expectations, and you're just a perfect example of our expectations of what our life was going to look like, and I feel like you made a brave decision, right? I mean, you could have, in some ways, continued down a path that maybe in your heart of hearts knew it wasn't the right one, and when do you pull the trigger on a decision like that? I feel like the universe is pushing all of us to, especially with the full moon energy. And like I said, we'll release it after the full moon. But this full moon in particular is, you know, whatever. It's the biggest super moon of the year. It's the one where the moon is closest to us and all the rest of it. So I do feel this is a time for us to share our truth, to share our voice, and you know, Stace, when we take on a role to be a mentor, to be a healer, I do feel like we need to experience things at a deeper level. And the other weird and interesting thing right now is I feel like most of us, maybe, feel like there's a reason why we're going through what we're going through. It's just the knowing that, everything you just talked about is part of your karmic release. And, you're creating space for something new. I feel like there's a craving for us to know what that is, but we're not meant to know what it is. And how can we allow ourselves to get excited? It's a journey of grief too, right? A dream that you had is coming to an end. So you are like grieving a part of your life, right? And being gentle with where you're at and allowing yourself to process. And this is for our listeners, whatever you're releasing, whatever you're grieving, whatever phase you're in, I feel like we're all in a phase of shifting. So, my advice and the best advice we can give is to be gentle with yourself and, as much as possible, let go of your expectations and know that you are being guided. Like I said at the beginning, it's a myth that this spiritual journey is all light, love, and ease. Maybe it is at times, but through this phase, for me, it's felt really heavy, really intense. I feel like I'm going through some sort of rebirth. Everything kind of what I thought was real is being shifted, and I don't really know what the future holds. And my deal with my guides is I'm just going to keep showing up. Whatever that looks like, I'm going to keep showing up. Like with this podcast, keep showing up, creating this membership that's coming out soon. Keep showing up. I don't know what it means. But ultimately, contraction is a natural part. We talked about this before. What's contraction? Contraction is that feeling that you're going more inward, that everything inside you is contracting. What's the difference between contraction and regression? Regression feels like you're going backwards. It's not always you are, but you feel like. Whereas contraction is almost like the universe is asking you to slow down, to look inside, and to really connect with that part of you. and to accept, as Stacey's trying to do, that whatever's in our external world is serving us in some kind of way. But it's hard, right? Take Stacey's example. She had all these expectations of where she was going to live, and and when all that's turned on its head, and now what you have is a blank sheet of whatever the future holds, that's both exciting and really scary. And I feel like that's what we've all been asked to do, is to be open to having a future that could be very different to what it looks like today. That's why when I talk about the next 12 months, I feel like the world is going to look like a very different place in 12 months. And does that excite me? Yes. Is it a little scary? Yeah. But Stacey, I'd love for you to talk about, and again, I'm putting you on the spot, I know. How do you go on the journey to accept where you're at, and maybe even try and get excited, or at least curious about what the future holds? How does that feel to you?
I would say I'm not quite there yet. I might get little windows of viewing the future, but right now I'm still grieving for sure. And the waves of grief are pretty intense. I want to believe that this is leading me on a path to something even greater. In this moment, I'm still grieving, and with that comes some fear and some anxiety and all those mixed emotions. But I also feel like there is something more. There's this feeling that there's something more. And I'm going to try to trust that and believe that I'm going to be led on that journey. And I think a huge part of it starts with me and how I manage what I'm going through, because it would be really easy to regress and go back to old patterns of behavior that are not healthy and are detaching me from the situation. Or I can move forward using the things that I know help me. And the biggest one for me right now has been writing, Nims. My journaling time has been so sacred for me. And I really believe has been a great tool for helping me navigate through the heavy, because it gives me a place to put it. So I don't really know what's next, but I feel like I'm open for whatever that is. And I think that's all that can be asked of me, right? In this season where I'm still grieving and I'm still processing, just staying open that it's not always going to feel heavy, that this too shall pass. And I know that sounds so cliche, but I know grief doesn't last, right? So I just have to kind of ride this wave and allow myself to feel it, trusting that what's ahead is going to be brighter and better for me. So that's where I am right now.
I guess just to share in the full disclosure that the decision that Stace talked about is very fresh, right? When did you message me? I think it was Sunday, right? So we're recording on Tuesday, so Stace being so vulnerable as she is, she's very brave by doing that. Because you can tell, you can hear it in your voice, it's very raw. But everything you just described for me is it's kind of an example of what everybody's going through, and maybe not, to lesser or more extremes. Who knows, right? Who decides that? But You just described what contraction is. It's a natural stage of evolution. It's an expansive phase of looking inwards, and it is a season, as you say. This too shall pass. And does it sound corny? I don't know if it does. I mean, I use that phrase all the time because we do go through seasons, right? And it's just like the seasons on the planet. I feel like we've been closing so many cycles, and I feel like, and I talk a lot about this in each of the episodes, but I feel like we're closing cycles in weeks that would have taken us months. We're closing cycles in months that would have taken us years, and we're closing cycle in maybe even months that maybe would have taken us lifetimes before. It just feels like things can feel like really slow but really heavy. But actually, when you take a step back, time is moving really quick, and it's just we cycle between opening and pausing, and for me, this phase of contraction, if that feels relevant to everybody that's listening or most that's listening, Stacey just described it. For me, it's a sacred rhythm. It's just that for me, a sign of contraction is more sleep is needed. You're more tired. I'm definitely feeling more tired, but the full moon is normally a time where my sleep goes a bit messy anyway. But if you're feeling in your contraction, what does that feel like? It's that where maybe there's chaos in your external world, like Stacey described. Maybe you're feeling more tired, more need to be quiet, emotional waves, you're feeling more sensitive, you feel, and just realize, you haven't gone backwards, because sometimes it feels that we're almost at a standstill, or, the way Stacey described, everything she was dreaming of is now changing. But does that mean she's gone backwards? For me, I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I feel like it's if something's not going to work out, making that hard decision is brave and expensive. I'm not saying, I never said it's easy, right? So if you're in that phase where you've been pushed into a corner, you're putting off making a decision, maybe this is your sign to trust your intuition. And if it's a hard decision, then make that hard decision, right? And if it's around a relationship, a soul contract, then talk to your guides and trust your intuition. Because during this phase, I feel like our body's asking us to slow down, to look more inward, to listen to more our intuition, to look to our guides. Stacey's talked about journaling. It's a beautiful way of releasing and using. So what works for you? Is it journaling? Is it meditation? But looking inward, spending time with you, getting to know this version of you, being silent, being present in your body, that's what I feel like we've been asked to do during this phase. November is really a heavy month of planetary movements. There's a lot happening. Be gentle with yourself, whatever that looks like. Like I said, if you need to get rest, get rest. It's another loaded question, but if our listeners are feeling like they're being pushed into making a decision, it's a heavy time, and they're struggling to make a decision, what advice would you give them?
I think it's really important to get still with yourself, to take time away from everyone else and their opinions, and really turn inward to soul search what you feel. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your decisions, no one else. And I found for me that getting quiet and getting still and turning inward was where the answers were. That was the space where I knew, okay, this is what I need to honor. This is what I need to do in order to be true to myself. I think if there's too much outside noise, things can get confusing and jumbled up, and you might not have the answers that way. But I absolutely feel that by turning inward, that's where the clarity comes from. And when I say this, do it in whatever way feels right for you. It might be going for a walk at the park. It might be sitting and journaling. It might be meditating. It might be praying. It might be going for a drive in the car by yourself. For everybody, it's going to be something different. But finding that quiet space where you can turn inward is where you're going to find the answers. Trying to seek them outside of yourself is going to lead to more confusion and frustration and could lead to anger and resentment. But the turning inward for me has been key in this, because I knew that I had to live with whatever decision I made and no one else. And I don't think there's any advice that I could give that would be greater than that, Nims.
No, that's powerful. I couldn't agree more. It's that, it's like I'm speaking to so many clients this week. It's like there's this pressure to do something. I need to do something. I need to, it's like I'm struggling to make decisions to do it. There's power in stillness. It's not stagnation. It's like I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to do something, to do. Well, what are we rushing to? So I couldn't agree more. That stillness, there's power in it. Looking inward, being gentle with yourself, being kind, taking time out for you, taking a day out just with you, going on a date with yourself, just being gentle with yourself, being kind. There's no rush. Stacey, I just love the way you described it. It's that looking inward. It's that, it's helping you to get in alignment with this new version. We had so many expectations, and maybe you call them dreams of what life would look like. And maybe it looks totally different. Nobody decide. Nobody can, as they said, you're the only one that answers to you, right? So sometimes your expectations of what your life look like is the thing that's actually slowing you down. Because I mean, I love the phrase, you are where you're meant to be. What is for you will find you. What's not for you will miss you. But again, those words are easy. If you had expectations, your life was going to look a certain way. And maybe you feel like you're not there, or you start, the other thing we shouldn't do is compare ourselves to other people, because you don't know what other people are going through. You only have to answer to you. And for me, I couldn't agree more. Looking inside, being still, resting, God's delays are not God's denials. So what if this is a phase where you slowing down and you being inward is actually exactly 100% what you should be doing? And I love what Stacey says, do what works for you. We would always recommend things like grounding, breath work, being in nature, journaling. But what is it that drives you? And by the way, if you don't normally journal, maybe this is a time to start journaling. But do it. What's your intention? And listen to your body. Why is the first thing when we have a question that we always go and Google it or ask ChatGPT or something? But why can't we let our body be our first guide? If you feel tired, then rest. Because the body gives us so many signals. And now you've been told to pause, slow down. Listen to the physical cues, because it's just, otherwise things will catch up. And if you're feeling like a pressure to get things done and to do something, maybe it's not what you're meant to do. And Stacey talked about grief. I feel like a lot of us are grieving the versions of ourselves that we thought we were going to be. Or maybe an old version of ourselves. And maybe it's okay to allow yourself to grieve. I mean, Stacey talked about it. She had this life that she thought she was going to live, but it's going to be different now. Nobody said it's better or worse, but it's like expectations of what your next steps are going to be. And if you're going through something similar, then allow yourself to grieve. Be gentle with yourself. Know that I do feel like, Stacey, as an example for you, I do feel like the universe is supporting you. At the same time, I applaud you for being brave in your decisions. I feel like you saw something coming, and it came pretty quick, and you acted upon it. And the fact that you're knowing that you're grieving, but this is also time to make sure you lean on the community around you. I mean, Stace talked about it too, but it's that, and I'm sure a lot of people here are saying, "Well, I don't really have friends around me. I don't really have a community. I don't." Maybe it's time to look for it. Maybe it's time to manifest people in your world that can hold your space. We have, actually, by the time I release this, we would have had the full moon webinar, but we have a monthly full moon webinar, which is beautiful and healing. I have a membership coming out, but look, wherever resonates. There's so many beautiful communities out there, but you have to allow people to hold your space. Grief is a very personal, it's a very sacred journey. It's an acknowledgement of who we once were, and what once saved us, but what's coming next. But then allowing people to hold your space, whoever in your world that may be. And maybe if it's not in this realm, maybe you lean on your guides and you feel their presence, and this is a beautiful time to do that. But this is I feel like it's an intense but very, very expansive time. So Stace, kind of putting you on the spot again, but in terms of what else are you going to do moving forward to kind of help support you in terms of this transition? Maybe, what else would you advise others in terms of building that community of people around them?
I think the first thing is I'm going to be gentle with myself. I know that I need extra rest right now. I know that in that heaviness, oftentimes there's fatigue, and I'm absolutely feeling that. And so I'm trying to go easy with myself and my routine. Leaning into the community that I have, my friendships. I'm usually the one to reach out. I'm usually the one to initiate with people. And right now, I can feel myself kind of hiding a little bit. So having my community around me and feeling that support is powerful. And then leaning into my daily practices. Like I said, my journaling practice specifically has been a lifesaver for me. It's been a space for me to process a lot. And I love that. I love that I can sit with myself and my thoughts and find a way to work my way through them, and also being able to document the journey, right? Because at some point I'll probably want to reflect back on this time and what I've learned from it. So all of these things are things that I'm trying to do to kind of help myself along the way. And being open to other ideas, I think, is really important as well. Staying open to suggestions from friends about things to do, taking extra time with my daughter and spending time with her. I have a grandbaby on the way, like literally as we speak right now. My daughter is on her way to the hospital to have my second granddaughter. And focusing on those things is going to be a lifeline for me. It's going to be something really powerful to kind of nurture me and help me along the way.
Wow, I love that. You got a grandbaby on the way. I know you don't love the name Granny Stacey's, but one of the beauties of you not moving actually is you're going to get more time with your grandkids, right? And there's there's a silver lining, I guess, to everything, right? And just I didn't know where this episode was going to go, and when we picked the title and how much you were going to share, and it's always like, but this to me does feel like a really important episode, and really an episode to really slow down and listen to your soul. Listen to, honor the internal rhythms, and let go. People think I'm crazy, but it's like when I'm going through rebirth or reset, I love to go to a graveyard, right, and just allow that old version of me to go, be buried, be cremated. You don't have to go as crazy as me, but maybe you do. But allowing that old version of you, the expectations, feels important. But also to slow down, to listen, to honor your messages, to journal, to the things the parts of you that have outgrown. If you had some dreams and you're not going to get them, then let it go. I mean, perfect example for me is I always wanted kids, but I know I'm past that age, and it is what it is. But I've also got 10 nephews, 3 nieces that I have the most amazing relationship with. So what do you focus on, right? But also remember that the evolution happens in the quiet, invisible spaces. So often we wait for these big epiphanies, these big flashes in the sky, and all of a sudden we get our answers. But it's in the quiet moments, it's in the journaling, it's in the time with ourselves, it's on our meditations that we really kind of get the breakthroughs, the understanding of a soul. And by the way, you can have a conversation with your soul. You can ask there's so many times I've got angry with my soul, with God, with source, whatever, with my guides. They can take it, have a conversation with your soul and say, well, hold on, why did we sign up for this? And see what you get through. And Stacey, as we start closing out this episode, you know what I'm going to ask you. Any final bits of advice and any journal prompts for our listeners?
I think the place to start is asking yourself if you're feeling heavy right now. Usually, if you're feeling a heaviness, you're going to know it. But what's the source of it? So identifying where it's coming from, I think, is really, really important. And then what can you do to nurture you? What can you do to nurture you? What can you do to make yourself a priority? Because when we're going through a heavy time, I think during that time, more than ever, we have to prioritize our own needs and make sure that we're getting the proper self-care. So I kind of want you to do a little inventory in your journal and just see what it is that you're currently doing to care for yourself, and what do you need to do if you're in a season of heaviness to maybe step up that self-care? How can you lean into your community more? Maybe you need to reach out to a friend and actually express what you're going through. Maybe you've been really isolated with the journey, and now is the time to speak up and use your voice and process what you're going through with someone else. Whatever it is, I encourage you to take the time with yourself to be introspective, whether it's just through your thoughts and meditation and prayer, or it's through writing and journaling. I believe that taking that time to be intentional is going to help you to better understand the season of heaviness that you're in and help you navigate through it. So that's my advice, Nims. I hope this helps.
Powerful, powerful. Being gentle and kind to yourself is so important. When the path feels heavy, you're not failing. It means you're becoming. I love it. Contraction isn't the end. It's expansion. It's sacred. You're in a sacred phase, and be gentle with yourself. If this is, for me, is the moment when your soul is asking you to listen, to trust. Maybe you feel like you're going backwards, but you're not. Maybe this slowness is a time where you're gathering strength, you're becoming stronger. You're integrating the wisdom of everything you've been through. Maybe it's a time for you to truly connect with your guides. Heaviness is proof. If you're feeling heavy right now, it's proof that you're in motion. It's proof that you're shifting. This is a time to expand, to be gentle with yourself. And you know what? If you don't know what this next season holds, maybe that's okay. The uncertainty, if you're feeling uncertain, you're not sure. For me, you're exactly where you're meant to be. I can relate. I'm sure Stacey can too. But if you meet this season with compassion, be gentle with yourself. You'll get to know this version of you. And you'll realize how brave, how strong you've been, because everyone that's here right now in this time, really for me, has chosen to be here as a soul. And you've chosen to be here as a soul because you're capable of so much more. And you've done so much, you've released so much. So take time to ground, take time to spend time with you. And just accept that you're going through a shift, you're going through initiation, and you're ready, and the universe is never going to give you anything you can't handle. Stacey, I'm sending you so much love. I know you're going through a lot of shifts, and thank you for being so vulnerable, so sharing from the heart. I'm sure our audience appreciates it. If this episode touches a part of you, then we're sending you so much love and light. If we can help and support, please do DM us. Join us, reach out, maybe booking a Akashic record reading, booking a discovery call to find out more about mentorship. Signing up for my membership is which starts in very soon. Whatever feels right, whatever resonates. Sending everyone so much love and light. And Stacey, I'm going to hand over to you to close us out.
Thank you again for another beautiful episode. We're so grateful to our listening audience for supporting us and for this journey that we've been on. It's been a powerful season, and I'm hoping if you're experiencing a season of heaviness, you'll reach out and get the support that you need. Sending you so much love and light. Bye for now.
Thanks, Stacey. Love and light to everyone. Bye for now.